The Chris Cavallo interview on DMAP and VCRA. The Chris Cavallo interview on DMAP and VCRA. You're listening to the Chris Cavallo interview on DMAP and VCRA, presented by Hakeem Ali Bokus Alexander for Wisdom in association with UniquilibriuM. Welcome, Chris Cavallo. How are you doing, my friend?
Thank you, Mr. Ali Bokus. Thank you for having me here today. Um, I'm doing well. I really am, and with it being the eve of such a night, or such a day, I should say, I do thank you for having me on and allowing me to speak on just such important matters. So thank you.
Sure. So, just a little bit of background. DMAP stands for Direct Mutual Aid Program, and this idea came up during a heated discussion on Callin, another social audio app, and a very passionate gentleman on there. He mentioned the term mutual aid, and we came up with direct mutual aid in response to, because we were already in the midst of a few missions, and one of them involves the VCRA. And VCRA stands for Veterans Club Racing Association. So if that sounds kind of weird to you, like what does Veterans Club Racing Association have to do with anything? Well, let's see. Veterans racing. All right, we're gonna find out. Chris, go ahead and tell us, what is this about? What is the history behind the Veterans Club Racing Association? And like, why would this be important?
Thanks, thanks for asking, Hakeem. So I guess to answer your first question, to give some kind of background here is, um, the Veterans Club Racing Association, its main focus is to provide a group therapy environment just by getting an event going for veterans and service members, particularly war fighters or these uh, service members from the current conflict. Oh wow, I guess I can't say that, right? It's over. It's been 20 years. But I guess that's the whole thing, right? Is that so now this war is over. It's ended. And for everybody here at home, it's over. But everybody who went overseas, it's not over. That war is just now beginning. As that chapter is closing for the nation, another chapter is opening for its war fighters. So that's really the importance of it, and the history of it is that I believe it goes back as far as World War One, when warriors from all nations returned home, but most especially America. We rallied around motorsports, whether it was motorcycles or cars or uh, trucks, like Jeeps were, a really big thing. And just tinkering with things and being around each other and being involved with our community and giving back to our community and still kind of just, fostering that whole camaraderie that we had in the military, but around vehicles and around just racing and the exhilaration that comes from motorsports. Fast forward to now, it's just not a thing. The current veteran service organizations, the classic ones that everybody knows, like the VFW and the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, the DAV. Some of these guys even have a history of way back in the day of being involved with motorsports, because everybody came home from World War II and got together and got around with their Harley Davidsons and their Jeeps and their hot rods, and It was modifying things. They were even building speed racers for the sand flats out of old fuselages because they were the right shape. The fuel cells were the right shape. Um, so it's just something that we've done for a while and that we're no longer doing. And I feel that the lack of outlets for young service members and young veterans, or anybody from the current conflict in Vietnam, even going further back into Korea and such, uh, there's not really space for us to do something or to hang out around a common bond, um, a tie that binds, that maybe one would say, um, a mission that kind of brings us together.
And do you
The
feel like
the glue that
that's lacking in the veteran community for the younger war fighters?
I do. I really do. I mean, just for the younger service members in general, but most especially our warfighters that, that may need just a little extra care. And I don't mean to say it like they're weak or something, but, to help them feel a bit more natural. We know when you're hanging out at an event where it's all other veterans, you don't have to worry about civilians being there, which kind of sets the tone for you're in an environment where you don't need to watch over your shoulder or you don't have to explain to people your behavior. Maybe you always got your shades on and you're kind of on edge a little bit, or you're kind of watching people or whatever. But you probably wouldn't be doing that if the environment was set differently. Where you can actually relax. Um, and be more in the moment, in tune with your family, maybe with the information and the experience, and just absorbing it all, creating more memories by creating just a more therapeutic environment. So that's the real goal of the Veterans Club Racing Association. And I guess, sorry, the first answer is is the history of it. It's just we have war fighters of all nations over a period of time, and just kind of it's what they did, and now we don't do it anymore. Um, so one of the first partnerships or sponsors that I'm really trying to foster and have a really strong bond or relationship with is BMW, because as a NATO force, they were really there for the Americas while we were over there for the last 20 years, along with other people. Korea was there with us for a very long time. The Rock Army, amazing guys. Um, so really reaching out to these NATO allies first, and just certain manufacturers, and try to get them involved with the purpose in mind. Yes, I'm thinking locally. I'm acting here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, in the Tidewater area. As I'm from Isle of Wight, I'm from Smithfield, Virginia. Woo, go ham capital of the world. We actually had the world's largest ham biscuit. So that is in the Guinness World Book of Records there. Um, still kind of proud of that. Um, but yeah, so even though I'm acting here locally, I am truly wanting to make a global impact with this initiative. Um, but yeah, I mean that's kind of just sums that up.
So what would you say is the main focus? So veterans, and what's happening to these veterans right now that you feel like you need to intervene? What is going on that makes you feel like you need to do something to make a change?
I think that unfortunately the Norfolk area is just overburdened. This whole area is overburdened, and I don't think the population too much maybe likes the military. I'm not quite sure what it is. When I was in the Army, I was in Fort Carson, Colorado, which is called the hometown of the Army. And we knew that not everybody supports the military, which is fine. That's what we fight for, the freedom to do whatever you want. You could pray to Allah in the middle of the street, and that is fine. You should be able to do whatever you want as long as you're not messing with children. I don't think people should really care. Um, but I'm so sorry. I know I lost my train of thought. Every time I think of that, I just think of like want to beat people up, and then my brain goes elsewhere. Um,
So, who is the
uh,
population? Who are you attempting to help with your initiatives? Who's your target?
oh yes, yes, yes. I'm so
Who are
sorry.
the
Yeah.
people that you want to help?
Uh, yeah. Thank you, Keem. Thank you for getting back on that. My train of thought here. Yeah, my dark heart gets strokes when I talk about that stuff. So unfortunately, it's 3 months ago or 4 months ago here in the area here in Norfolk, some active duty Navy sailors killed themselves. So a few of them in succession. Several in the same day. And I'm not going to say that things haven't been done or things aren't changing or whatever because I have no direct knowledge of that. Um, but I don't. There's not a very good track record of anybody usually doing something when something bad happens. Um, and I've been trying to bring these initiatives to light for years, and I've worked for not-for-profits for many years, and I know all the different tax codes, and I've worked, got cars donated from GM previously, and ThinkWare dash cams, which is now one of the largest dash cam providers in the U.S. I actually had a contract with them previously, um, prior to them. I'm sorry, precision of language. Prior to their product being with big retailers like Best Buy. So in 2015, before they really busted into the U.S. market, I had a private contract with them uh, for my initiatives with veterans, which was clearly automobile based because it's a dash cam. So I've been doing this for some years now and just really deploying it. Um, and it's just, I think that the timing is right, and I'm hoping that it reaches the right ears and that I can get the right people involved that really want to make this come to light. And the last 3 weeks here, I've been going to car shows organically, just talking to people and trying to get the word out. As I get T-shirts or business cards or whatever, and try to find some sponsorships to raise money and do other non-for-profit things. It's kind of just to get the word out. But I've spoken to quite a few young Navy guys um, from all different walks of life, different age groups in the Navy for different lengths. They also have different rates, which for those who are listening, a rate is a job. So they're different. They're different military job. So, I was speaking to a radar tech a few days ago, and he was speaking how they work so often. He gets maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep, if that, let alone getting time off. So not everybody works that strenuous in the military. It just really depends on who you're attached to and your job. But when I was telling him about some of the things I want to bring to light, you could see that he found relief that there may be something on the horizon. And when I got done explaining it to him, his only main comment was, wow, that's incredible. You might find that you'll quickly need a larger facility because I think that would be extremely popular. And that solidified it for me that I'm heading in the right direction. I'm doing it for the right reason. And that clearly there are people out there who do need this space and do need these types of events and trust that they can receive help when they need it the most. And I don't mean just with mental health, but with also finances and outreach and other veteran service organizations that are ran by veterans for veterans, organizations that are about transparency, no misuse, proper allocations of donations, and really want to make an impact on lives and direct mutual aid to really save lives. That's what it's about. Unfortunately, I hate using this term, but it creates a accurate visual. We lose roughly 30 veterans a day, so a busload of veterans and service members daily. And if that was any other demographic on the face of the planet, there'd be an uproar. Um, so if I can simply just create an environment and just create a space with where there's a big building that's not being leased in some shopping center, if I could turn that into a place for soldiers and sailors and Marines and airmen to hang out, and have them be able to work on their cars and work out, and maybe play video games and have a beer and hey, maybe there's an octagon in there, right? So you can get in there and do some training and some sparring, and maybe we got an indoor range. The things that are involved, the warrior culture, the military culture, the camaraderie that comes with it. Um, but I really think that this area needs it more now than ever with this the economy kind of up and down, and um, our unfortunately not a lot of civilians know that our armed forces in general, I don't mean like just the Marine Corps and the Army, but just all of our service members, some of the lower enlisted, they really don't make enough money, even sometimes as an E5, which is known as commonly as like a sergeant. um, they're on benefits. They're getting EBT or some other kind of government assistance, especially if they have children. Um, and it's not because they don't budget their money well, but it just depends on where they're stationed and this and that, and because that depends on how much money the military will allot them to find housing, and just of course with the economy going up and inflation and the ups and downs of that, and uh, my real mission, and with what's going on right now is, yes, I want to get veterans on the racetrack. I want to have these big car events. I want to, maybe get cars into Mecum auto auctions and turn that money into the ability to do great things for the community. But at the bare minimum, if the E3 who needs tires on his car, if I can assist him to get to work, or to be able to like feed his kids, so that he can focus on the mission, which is working for the military, and be more happy and have better morale, by having his simple needs met, um, then that's really like the game changer. I feel like that's the bread and butter. Like, it's all the low level stuff so that people can focus on the high level stuff. Um, I know it's called the Club Racing Association. It's racing, but things that will be associated with is like camping and RVing and road tripping and motorcycles and off roading. Finding these other outlets that are kind of weaved into the American way of life that we don't do anymore, you know, and be able to provide an outlet for service members to make memories with their families or memories with their buddies from their unit, and uh, not have to worry all the time about the expenses, because some of those things can be very costly. And if you're lower enlisted, there's no way you can afford it.
Right.
Even as like a new officer, for some of these things I'm speaking of are still very, very expensive. I mean, the, you know, the Americans in general can't afford a lot of these things. I don't just just not service members. Um, um, so yeah, so I'm not trying to like even I'm not trying to out anybody. Some of these things in general are just highly expensive in the modern age, in this modern era, with everything that it takes to actually execute it. So to be able to lessen that burden on people, um, to just overall improve their life, I feel is my ultimate goal right now. And I'm just trying to really get the message out there and create awareness. And uh, lately, like I said, I've been going to different car shows and trying to plug in with people, on an organic level, and find out if there's any other kind of not-for-profits that can help me with awareness, or food vendors, or um, maybe old friends that can help out. And I've been having some great success. One good example is Bubba and Frank's out of Carrollton, Virginia, ran by Sean Christian and the Christian family. They're one family that runs it. His father opened it with his friend Frank some years ago. Unfortunately, Sean's father passed away a few years ago, and Sean and his siblings have been diligently running these 4 locations of Bubba and Frank's here in Virginia, the Tidewater area. And I recently reached out to him, and he's all about being able to help, the Veterans Club Racing Association by hosting events in Virginia Beach. They're at his busiest and most popular location for Bubba and Frank's, which is real food that's real good, because he cooks and smokes his meat every day, fresh produce every day. It's just, there's not a lot of people that do that, especially here in this area, because it is kind of rough. The social economics aren't set up for it. So he and his family have pushed really hard in the last decade or so to get several more locations. And but yeah, so he's on board. I got a good inquiry from Wild Bill's Premium Craft Beverages, which is a premium soda called Wild Bill's. Maybe some people listening have seen them at events before, or maybe at Comic-Con. But they are also a veteran-owned company. And they got back to me on Tuesday, which took them about a month to get to me, but it's just only a few guys running it. It's a very small batch, premium craft soda. No high fructose corn syrup, all natural ingredients. They even have some like extra special limited releases on top of the things they kind of keep on hand all the time. It's really good. I mean, I've had it before. I just never knew that they canned it. I never knew they had sponsorships or retail abilities or all these other things now. And so the universe is really working on our side with trying to get these DMAP programs, direct mutual aid programs out there to change lives. And so that's, things are coming together. I'm really hoping I can get Wild Bill's, and then Wild Bill's Premium Craft Beverages. It is a premium soda. And then Bubba and Frank's, which is in the Hampton Roads area, Virginia, originally founded in Carrollton, Virginia. Bubba and Frank's, real food that's real good. Get them together, to help me have a product that can sell to, or provide to the community, to help raise money for the not-for-profit, and use that kind of as a catalyst, right? Like that's the bond. I feel like, getting people together in a group, breaking bread together, having a good environment, playing some, some decent music, everybody got their cars out there. And it's really a good focus to work with other veteran vendors and small businesses. And, what if a veteran's wife runs a business, or a service member's, son, or whatever, or, they just kind of keeping it in the circle, and then when civilians come to events, of course they're welcome to, come and walk around a car show and whatever. But, like if let's say there was a vendor at this event, I would want to make sure that it's somebody who's partnered with us, and is providing a good service to service members and the veterans in our community. Somebody like, even such as yourself, you have a lot of knowledge on the brain body connection and fitness, and a lot of the health benefits that come from it. So, being able to provide that service or that information, or just, being knowledgeable and a practitioner of your field of practice, and not just a theorist, is very important. Especially when providing information and not just like a retail good, not a consumable. So, I've given this, I really have given this a lot of thought, as you can probably tell. But that is my current demographic. I think that's who needs it most. The soldiers, the sailors, the Marines, the airmen here. We have hundreds of thousands of new recruits that come through here, either through training or through their first duty station, or they're passing through. And this really should be the hometown of the military. Like this it should be treated different here. We shouldn't have to worry as much as you do about some of the things that plague this area in general.
And so
yeah, I mean, that's my main demographic there.
So what area are you talking about? You're talking about Virginia Beach, Virginia? For people who are just tuning in,
Yeah, yes, sir.
the area you're speaking of is Virginia Beach, Virginia, right? And you're whoever's tuning in right now, you're listening to the Chris Cavallo interview on Direct Mutual Aid Program, which is DMAP, and VCRA, Veterans Club Racing Association, and these are both nonprofit initiatives, and with the focus on helping veterans. Direct mutual aid program to veterans, and one of the ways is through the Veterans Club Racing Association, which brings together a traditional gathering, a traditional gathering activity for veterans and warfighters from times past, where they would get together and develop a great camaraderie through the innovation and racing and participating in racing and motorsports. And I'm here with Chris Cavallo. And Chris, looks like we're coming up on 30 minutes, and you've said a good bit about this. Is there anything else? How can people help who are listening or who will listen to this recording?
Yeah.
How can?
Yeah. I'll finish up with I think one other thing that we're kind of really focusing on, and then we'll let them know how they can help, and we'll wrap this up. So a lot of people don't know that the beauty of having a not-for-profit, a 501c3 that's educational on a federal level. There's different levels that you have to file for a 501c3 nonprofit organization, but you're allowed to do other initiatives under that once you get all your official paperwork. One of those is the World Reading Club. And it's a reading club because we're passionate about literacy and about knowledge and about gaining that knowledge, because we feel that knowledge gives you more abilities. And that's the real power, is the ability to do things. Whether it's through literacy or through discipline of martial arts so you can protect your family, or, whatever it may be, but just having more abilities to be able to respond to life and respond to the world. So the World Reading Club is one of our first initiatives that's going to be deployed from the ability of having the Veterans Club Racing Association. So that main organization allows us to have additional DMAP programs, direct mutual aid programs. And one of those is the World Reading Club. I made an agreement with myself and with Akeem earlier when we we're throwing this around. This is an idea of his. He's been working on for many years himself. That's his brainchild. So we're mind melding here. We're both passionate about literacy and education and about spreading it around the globe. So our goal is that when we receive our official paperwork, because we have to pay the lawyers. It's about $2,000 to pay these lawyers to get it all filled out, and make sure that when we are long gone, that the organization cannot be dissolved, or people can't come in there and just start reallocating money and paying themselves, because we're not really taking paychecks. We just don't need it. It's not about that. But our goal for the World Reading Club is to get 500,000 books in the first 12 months. Different books, whether they're coffee table books, full of pictures, or graphic novels, or encyclopedias, or just regular books, or working with other authors, and just people who want to be involved in the program and getting their books out there and spreading literacy and education. But our goal is to get 500,000 books, to be able to upload some and then give them out and create. I don't know the proper term for it, but they're like book stations. So you can go into your neighborhood and just create like a mailbox and stash some books in it, and let the neighborhood kids rent them out and bring them back and keep them, and we'll keep sending you books to fill it up. And As long as, the books aren't getting thrown away or something, we'll keep sending them. So that's one of the big things that we want to do, and it's one of the first initiatives that's going to come from the Veterans Club Racing Association. And it's going to be another thing where we're thinking locally and acting globally, because literacy is important. In many countries, if they had access to more literacy or more abilities to educate themselves, their whole lives can change exponentially and overnight. So we are firm believers in what direct mutual aid does, and boy, it's just such an incredible impact that can happen. So that's just what I just wanted to kind of finish on there, and let everybody know. So to help, I do have the Veterans Club Racing Association website, which is .com. It is a little unwieldy. Definitely working on that. And there is a donation page there. It will send you to my PayPal to make a donation, and that is attached to our monthly newsletter, because I believe in 100% transparency. So the newsletter will be attached once I actually start receiving donations. It will lead to a Excel spreadsheet where it shows where all the donations are being held, and in which departments, whether it's a general relief fund or a fund for events, or just kind of where it's at and where it's going, and then where the allocations go. In the long term, I would love to build a membership, and that's not just for the service members and veterans within the Club Racing Association, but also for our civilian donors and for our partners and sponsors, so that they can directly track their personal donations. Because I think that's very important, so that if you donate $100 monthly on auto pay, that you can call me and get a hold of me or our accountants or whoever, and within the week, I think I would say probably 48 hours, because we may be on the road, we may be a little busy, but I think 48 hours is reasonable. 72 hours at the max, especially so 3 business days, I feel is reasonable to turn around and say, hey, let's just say, Joe Bob, hey, hey, or Bobby Joe. Hey, Bobby Joe, ma'am, your $500 is sitting in the general relief fund, and it's just kind of sitting here. Yep, it hasn't been used yet. We have X amount of dollars in it in general. We have other donors. Yours hasn't been used. And maybe Bobby Joe says, hey, well, I really want mine to go to the front of the line. Do you mind? Is there a way I could make that happen? And so like, hey, cool, yeah, sure. Next time we got somebody who needs help, we'll be sure to use the donations that you've given us to allocate for that relief, to make that change to help that person. So I think that's really the long-term plan of how people can help, and the ability to be transparent and to have a way to track your personal donations, especially from civilians and the public donors and private and partnerships and sponsors, and especially when I'm doing these big annual events, and let's say celebrities get involved or this and that. I really want to be able to have as much transparency as possible, but that also means that the public has to provide me with good information. So I'm going to need an actual phone number, a good email, like stuff like that. Because that's we're a team, right? We got to work together. So we got to be cool on both sides, and really focused on making the change and helping people, and making sure that all the money goes where it's supposed to go. And because I want to be able to pay my volunteers. I personally don't need a bunch of money. If I can have a decent little house with a little bit of land and have a few fruit trees, like a little orchard, I'd be cool, man. And have maybe some little hot rod, like some little shed I can like go wrench on stuff. I'm good. But so if I can, just all the money that comes in, actually being able to pay my volunteers, not just my employees, but the people who come to volunteer and like run an event or to work with, let's say there's a big thing for like veterans children's, for like maybe it's like a camp, or they're teaching them how to drive go-karts or whatever, and I need a bunch of people to help work the event. I want to be able to pay them and pay them decently, because that's how, they're everybody's time is worth something. And I think that too many non-for-profits make way, way, way too much money from the public and from private donors to then not pay their volunteers and for the directors to take big checks. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not very logical. And then no aid is rendered, and people continue to suffer. And it's just, I mean, wow. And that's the whole thing. It's just like the aid is never rendered because the allocations are lost, and then the suffering never ends, and then the suffering spreads. And it's no wonder why people are hurting, because when you go to where you're supposed to be able to get help, you can't, because there's all bureaucracy and red tape and misallocations of donations and misuse, and it's just a sad state. I'm not pointing fingers. I don't. I'm not trying to be pessimistic here. Please don't take it that way. It's just I feel that there's room for change, and I feel that if I lead the charge, if I lead by example, that I hope other veteran service organizations and other organizations that want to help veterans or the public, with whatever wonderful thing they want to provide. Maybe they want to work with orphans, or they want to work with the blind, or they want to work with people who have mental handicaps, or amputees, or I don't know, maybe you're really into gardening and you just want to like spread the knowledge of gardening. All these things are fantastic, but actually being able to get it done, and people being able to come to you and get help, and or maybe you're going to somebody to get help. For a small example, I went to my local VFW to get help, and they weren't very helpful, to say the least, to keep the story simple. And that even further solidified the fact of why I need to take action and to do what I'm doing now and bring awareness to this, and try to get it on the local news, and and I'm talking to old friends, and I'm creating a Facebook page and a Facebook group, and I'm going to start volunteering myself. I'm just going to go by myself and just wear a t-shirt and pass out cards, and as I meet other veterans organically, I'll ask them to come join me at volunteering events with like the Wounded Warrior Project, or the Mission Continues, or Red, White, and Blue, and Team Rubicon, and people that I've already been volunteering with for a while, because it seems like some other people in the community don't want to support it. I'm not sure why. So I'm just going to continue to grassroot it as I am, and plug it in organically, and just kind of keep chugging along. But yeah, I'm sorry. The way people can help is just you can donate. I'll plug it into the comments here, I guess. Yeah, and just that. I mean, that'd be great. I mean, to be very clear and clairvoyant. I have not started it yet. I have my own bylaws typed up and stuff, and it hasn't been filed for through the lawyers, because the full filing fees, I believe, are like 2,500 or 3,000, because the services are roughly 15 to 1,700 for like the whole high-end services from these lawyers, and then the additional IRS filing fees, because of the high level of non-for-profit that it is. It's not a state level, it's a federal level tax deduction designator that I'm seeking, so that when corporations donate a car to me, they can get 100% written off. They can get that 100% tax donation back. to them if they're a large enough corporation. So those additional IRS filing fees, I believe, are $800, maybe more. I know one of them alone is $600, and then whatever standard filing fees that there may be, which I believe is another $300 or $400. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, and that's where I spoke about the sponsorships with Wild Bill's premium craft beverage, which is a premium soda, craft soda, and then Bubba and Frank's Real Food that's real good out of Carrollton, Virginia, and kind of hosting a car show or some kind of breakfast or some kind of event to get the money raised and to be able to continue to work with the public. And then at that point, it's just off to the races. And um, so yeah, just I mean, if you guys can help, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. If you can't monetarily, that is totally okay, because you being here alone is helping. And if you can share this is helping, and if you can tell your friends and family, and if there's any veterans in your life, or it doesn't matter what country you're in, let them know there's something coming. If they went to war, it just let them know there's something coming. Like, hey man, I heard about this thing, and send them my way. Please, the more proof in the pudding, the better. The more connections I can make now internationally and nationally within the U.S., the better. So please reach out. Please plug in. There's a Facebook page as well, the Veterans Club Racing Association. I mean, hey, you know what? I'll put the donation page and stuff, and I'll tie some of the donation stuff to the Facebook page. I don't believe I've done that. I have a lot going on, and I'm only one person. I don't say that to be dismissive, but yeah, I will check to make sure that the link is functional on the Facebook page for donations, and it is called the Veterans Club Racing Association on Facebook. And we also have a website at the same name, veteransclubracingassociation.com. And yeah, that's it. I'm gonna stop here. I digress. So thank you so much for having me. And yeah.
All right, Chris, thanks. Thank you very much for very enlightening comments about the Veterans Club Racing Association, the Direct Mutual Aid Program, and I learned a little bit about you for anybody who's listening and will be listening to the recording. And that's going to wrap it up. So you've been listening to the Chris Cavallo interview on DMAP, which is Direct Mutual Aid Program, and Veterans Club Racing Association. I'm Hakeem Ali Bokus Alexander, and in association with the UniquilibriuM. Catch you on the next wave. Stay well.